All right, guys, I'm Harris Rubenstein. You can follow me on Twitter at Sportsdean. So those were your news and rumors of the week. So now let's get into the Patriots team needs now that free agency has passed us. And number one, it was when we started the free agency, and it is still now. It's still linebacker because they didn't address the position in free agency, which was absolutely mind-boggling. So this tells me one thing and one thing only: expect the Patriots to draft a linebacker in the first round. They need more top-end talent because Donta Hightower is simply not enough, and they need more depth at the position as well. LaAdrian Roberts, he's not good. He's simply not good. I'm sorry, the experiment failed. He can do one thing and one thing only, and that's just charge really fast forward and hope that he hits the correct hole. By the way, he usually doesn't actually hit the correct hole and then ends up missing the tackle. So they need a linebacker. Expect some early round investment. I wouldn't be surprised if they took one in the first round, maybe even traded up to get their guy if they have one. I still think Roquan Smith could be a trade-up candidate if he drops out of the top 10, but again, that isn't exactly what I would call likely. And then on the other side of that, maybe someone like a Leighton Vander Esch. He might end up going top 20 though, because he had a fantastic combine. Another guy who the Patriots would have to trade up for. I don't see them touching Tremaine Edmunds. I don't think they're looking for that kind of a project unless they really think that he's going to be the second coming of Anthony Barr, but that doesn't really seem like the Patriots style of linebacker. They're going to have to bring someone in, and as of right now, if we look at the depth chart, it really isn't that pretty. You got Donta Hightower, who literally can't stay on the field. You have Kyle Van Noy, who also can't stay on the field. You have Marcus Flowers, who at his best is a really good special teamer and a depth linebacker, so he's not exactly anything to call home about. LaAdrian Roberts, don't even get me started again. Everybody knows how I feel about him at this point. Harvey Lange is coming off of a life-threatening car accident, so we'll see how his career goes. And then Nicholas Grigsby is simply a practice squad and camp body. So they have a big hole at linebacker, so expect them to touch on that in the draft. Let's get into need number two. It's left tackle. Nate Solder is gone. Cameron Fleming is gone. They don't have a backup left tackle right now. So if you look at the entire offensive line as a whole, there were some options of them moving Marcus Cannon to left tackle and then putting Antonio Garcia at right tackle or LaAdrian Waddle at right tackle. But the problem is that if you move Marcus Cannon from right to left, you're all of a sudden left with two problems, because what if he doesn't work at left and you have someone at right tackle who's bad? Then you just are stuck with the same problem you had originally. You don't have a left tackle. So the Patriots are probably going to end up drafting a tackle unless they really think that Antonio Garcia is just amazing. But he missed the entire season last year with blood clots. And if you look at the rest of the depth chart, it's Garcia, it's Waddle, and it's this new guy, Matt Tobin, who his Pro Football Focus grade this year was a 55, which, as we like to call it on Patriots Report, not great. So I really think they're going to move ahead with a left tackle in the draft. I think it'll come later in the rounds, maybe third or fourth round. But in the first round, if he's on the board, watch out for UCLA's Colton Miller. He's almost a carbon copy of Nate Solder. He's huge, he's from the Pac-12, and he's just going to get in the way. That's kind of what they like at left tackle. Matt Light was a similar player to that as well. So I think left tackle, the number 2 team need for the Patriots. Let's get to number 3. We haven't moved this one either. It's still quarterback. They need an heir. Hoyer's an okay backup. I think Riley Ferguson is still an option for this team. I'm holding on to my Riley Ferguson draft pick. I still think he'd be a great spot for them. And let's be honest, they went from one of the best quarterback positions in football to one of the worst. They went to having a backup quarterback who could end up taking over for Brady, and then a quality backup in Jacoby Brissett, and then they got rid of both of them. And now if you look at their depth chart, it's horrifying. It's Tom Brady, not horrifying, and Brian Hoyer, not great. And then, oh yeah, they don't have another quarterback on the entire roster. They don't even have one on the practice squad. They need a quarterback. They're going to draft one, whether it's Logan Woodside, whether it's Kyle Lauletta from Richmond, whether it's Riley Ferguson from Memphis. Someone is getting drafted as a quarterback this year for the Patriots. I would bet my life on it at this point. They're going to draft a quarterback, and if they don't, you might see me explode on air. It won't be pretty. Trust me. Let's get into need number 4, and it's safety. So Duron Harmon might end up getting suspended for his whole shenanigans with marijuana in Costa Rica. Jordan Richards, as we saw in the Super Bowl, just shouldn't even be allowed to play professional football anymore. That dude's not good. He's going to be a great coach someday, but he's not a great player. And again, they haven't addressed the position in free agency at all, except for giving Patrick Chung another extension. So you got Devin McCourty at free safety. You have Patrick Chung at strong safety. You have Duron Harmon, who kind of plays that big center field position, who just picks off balls if you throw it too deep. And then you have Jordan Richards. And after that, their entire safety depth chart is just a bunch of special teamers and a bunch of nobodies. You got Brandon King, you got Demarius Travis, you got Nate Ebner, David Jones. I've never even seen him play football before. I don't even know who that is. He's not going to make an impact on this team. They need another safety, and I think they're going to end up drafting one. Watch out for Justin Reed in either the front end or the back end of the second round, a guy they had a lot of interest in coming out of Stanford. So I want to know from you guys, which position is the weakest on the Patriots? Give me a heart for linebacker, give me a thumbs up for left tackle, give me a wow face for defensive back, and give me a laughing face for quarterback. For me, it's linebacker by a considerable margin. If you don't think it's linebacker, let me know in the comments why you don't think it's linebacker. Because at this point, if they don't draft a linebacker, it will go into this season, mark my words, as the worst overall linebacking core in the entire NFL. I don't even think you can argue that anymore. They have one linebacker on the entire team that can do anything, and he can't even stay on the field. So they need to get a linebacker. They got to bring someone in. It was the biggest problem out of the front seven. They had to sign David Harris at 32 years old just to add depth to the team. They need a linebacker. They're going to draft one. Let's get into number 5 our need rank at number 5. It's tight end. First of all, there's no tight end depth. It's pretty bad. Dwayne Allen is really bad. Will Tye, also really bad. The Patriots need a tight end. They haven't drafted one since they picked up Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski way back when. And at the same time, they have this kid, Jacob Hollister, who's a nice move tight end who can catch a little bit. But at the same time, the rest of this depth chart is just nothing to call home about. Just imagine what their depth chart would look like without Rob Gronkowski. If he retires, your number 1 tight end going to next season, because they're going to cut Dwayne Allen, would be Will Tye, who has been a practice squad player after getting cut from the Giants because he was bad. They need a tight end. They're going to draft one. Another, maybe a late end kind of guy. I would still love them to see them get the guy from Penn State, but they're going to get a tight end. Mark my words. And our last team need, it's going to be running back. I know they picked up Jeremy Hill in free agency. They re-signed Rex Burkhead. But for me, they haven't replaced Dion Lewis. They still need that dynamic all-around running back that can run between the tackles and catch passes and play that receiver, that kind of receiver role that they love on the outside. They have James White, who's the more third-down receiving back. I think they want Rex Burkhead to be that Dion Lewis kind of player, but he's simply just not as good. I think they want to bring someone in to really challenge him. I think a young running back out of the draft would be great. This is a really, really, really deep running back class this year coming out, so I think they're going to pick one up. If you look at the rest of the depth chart, it's Mike Gillislee versus Jeremy Hill. Only one of them is going to end up making the roster. James Devlin's a fullback. I threw him on there because I love James Devlin, and anytime I can talk about James Devlin, it puts a smile on my face. And then the last running back is Brandon Bolden, who's more of a special teamer and camp body at this point than anything. I think they'll pick up one more running back in the draft, maybe a kind of a more shifty running back, maybe a John Kelly out of Tennessee would also be a really good option, but expect them to pick someone up. But that's going to do it for Patriots Report today. Remember to follow me on Twitter at SportsDean, and also like New England Patriots by Chat Sports so you can get an alert every single time we go live here on Patriots Report. But you can follow me on Twitter at SportsDean. We'll see ya.